They call him Jesus. He came to love, heal and forgive. He lived and died to buy my pardon. An empty grave is there to prove my Savior lives. Because He lives, I can face tomorrow. Because He lives, all fear is gone. Because I know who holds the future, and life is worth the living just because He lives. And then one day I'll cross that river, I'll find life's fine, no more pain. And then as death gives way to victory, I'll see the lights, the city, and I'll know He reigns. Because He lives, I can face tomorrow. Because He lives, all fear is gone. Because I know who holds the future, and life is worth the living just because He lives.
Okay, I have the book of Jasher. Okay, and I figured let you see what it looks like. Now I'm not going to read all this. I'm going to start on chapter 42, and I'm going to read you on chapter 42. So, okay, now this is talking about Joseph and when he was sold. Okay. And they went and sat on the opposite side, about the distance of a bow shot. And they sat there to eat bread, and whistled they were eating. They held counsel together of what was to be done with him. Now this is when they put him in the well, whether to slay him or to bring him back to his father. 2. They were holding the council when they lifted up their eyes, when they saw, and behold, there was a company of Ishmaelites. Now, remember in Genesis where they said it was a bow shot? So this is talking about the bow shot again. Okay? The Ishmaelite coming in a distance by the road of Gilead, going down to Egypt. And Judah said unto them, what gain will it be for us if we slay our brother? Peradventure, God will require him from us. This then is the counsel purpose concerning him, which you shall do unto him. Behold, this company of Ishmaelites going to Egypt. Now therefore, come, let us depose of him to them, and let not our hands be upon him. And they will lead him along with them, and he will be lost among the people of the land. And we will not put him to death with our own hands. And the propitial place pleased his brothers, and they did according to the word of Joseph. And whistled they were discerning about this matter, and before the company of the Ishmaelites had come up to them, 7 training men of Midian passed by them, and as they passed, they were thirsty, and they lifted up their eyes and saw the pit in which Joseph was immersed. And they looked, and behold, every species of birds was upon him. And the Medians ran to the pit to drink the water, for they thought that it contained water. And on the coming before the pit, they heard the voice of Joseph crying and weeping in the pit. And they looked down in the pit, and they saw, and behold, there was a youth of company appearance, and a well-favored. And they called unto him, and said, Who art thou, and who brought thee hither? And who placed thee in the pit, in the wilderness? And they all assigned to raise up Joseph, and they drew him out, and brought him up from the pit, and took him, and went on their way journey, and passed by his brethren. So they went, and they pulled him up from the well, and they took him with him, and passed right by the brothers. And these said to them, Why do you do this? And they take their servant from us, and go away. Surely we place this youth in the pit, because he rebelled against us, and you came and bring him up and led him away. Now then, give us back our servant. And the Medians answered and said unto the son of Jacob, Is this your servant, or does this man attend you? Peradventure you are all servants, for he is more comely and well-favored than any of you. And why do you all speak falsely unto us? In other words, they're saying, look, he ain't no servant. You look more like a servant than he does. Now therefore, we will not listen to your words, nor attend to you. For we found the youth in the pit in the wilderness, and we took him. We will therefore go on. And all the sons of Jacob approached him, and rose up to them, and said unto them, Give us back our servant, and we will. Why will you all die by the edge of the sword? And the Midianites cried out against them, and they drew their sword, and approached to fight with the son of Jacob. And behold, Simeon rose up from his seat against them, and sprang upon the ground, and drew his sword, and approached the Midianites. And he gave a terrible shout before them, so that his shout was heard at a distance, and the earth shook at Simeon's shout. And the Medians were terrified on account of Simeon and the noise of the shout, and they fell upon their face and were exceedingly alarmed. So he screamed so loud that they were shocked, and they were like, Who are you? And Simeon said unto them, Verily, I am Simeon, the son of Jacob, the Hebrew, who have only with my brethren destroyed the city of Shechem and the city of the Amorites. So shall God moreover do unto me, that if all your brethren and the people of the Medians, and also the king of Canaan, were to come with you, they could not fight against me. Now therefore, give us back the youth whom you have taken, lest I give your flesh to the birds of the sky and the beasts of the earth. And the Midianites were more afraid of Simeon, and they approached the son of Jacob with terror, and fought with pathetic words, saying, Surely you have said that the young man is your servant, and that he rebelled against you, and therefore you placed him in the pit. What then will you do with the servant who rebels against his master? Now, therefore, sell him unto us, and we will give you all that you require for him. And the Lord has pleased to do this in order that the son of Jacob should not slay his brother. And the Midianites saw that Joseph was a comely appearance and well favored. They desired him in their hearts and were urgent to purchase him from his brother. Now I want to read that one again, and I want you to listen. And the Midianites saw that Joseph was of a comely appearance and well favored. They desired him in their hearts. Now, if you go and you look on what they're like, you will see they like little boys. Okay? They like little boys. And I hope you can understand what I'm saying about liking little boys. Okay? Alright, and the son of Jacob's hearkened unto the Midianites, and they sold their brother Joseph to them for 20 pieces of silver. And Reuben, their brother, was not with them. And the Midianites took Joseph and continued their journey to Gilgal. They were going along the road, and the Midianites repented of what they had done, and having purchased the young man. And one said to another, "What is this thing that we have done in taking this youth from the Hebrew, who is of comely appearance and well favored?" I'm trying to find an easier way to read this. "Perhaps this youth was stolen from the land of the Hebrews, and why then have we done this thing? And if he should be sought for and found in our hands, we shall die through him. Now surely hardy and powerful men have sold him to us, the strength of one of whom you saw this day. Perhaps they stole him from his land with their might and with their powerful arms, and have therefore sold him to us for a small value, which we gave unto them." And whilst they were thus discussing together, they looked, and behold, the company of Ishmaelites, which was coming at first, and which the son of Jacob saw, was advancing towards the Midianites. And the Midianites said to each other, "Come, let us sell this youth to the company of the Ishmaelites, who are coming towards us, and we will take for him the little that we gave for him, and we will be delivered from this evil." So they're going to sell him for the same amount that they bought him for. And they did so. And they reached the Ishmaelites, and the Midianites sold Joseph to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver, which they had given for him to his brethren. And the Midianites went on their road to Gilgal, and the Ishmael took Joseph and let him ride upon one of the camels, and they were leading him into Egypt. And Joseph heard that Ishmael were proceeding to Egypt, and Joseph lamented and wept at this thing, that he was to be so far removed from the land of Canaan, from his father. and he wept bitterly whilst he was riding upon the camel, and one of their men observed him, and made him go down from the camel and walk on foot. And notwithstanding this, Joseph continued to cry and weep. And he said, "Oh, my father, my father." And one of the Ishmaelites rose up and smote Joseph upon the cheek, and still he continued to weep. And Joseph was figured in the road, and was unable to proceed on account of the bitterness of his soul. And they all smote him and afflicted him in the road, and they terrified him in order that he might cease from weeping. And the Lord saw the affliction of Joseph and his trouble. And the Lord brought down upon these men darkness and confusion, and the hand of every one that smote him became withered. And they said to each other, What is this thing that God has done to us in the road? And they knew not what this befell them on account of Joseph. And the men proceeded on the road, and they passed along the road of Ephrath, where Rachel was buried. Now Rachel is his mother. And Joseph reached his mother's grave. And Joseph hastened and ran to his mother's grave, and fell upon the grave and wept. And Joseph cried out loud upon his mother's grave, and said, O my mother, O thou who didst give me birth, awake now, arise, and see thy son. Now he has been sold for a slave, and no one to pity him. Now, what did God say about familiar spirits? So why is he calling for his mother, looking for a familiar spirit, okay? Oh, arise and see thy son. Weep with me on account of my troubles, and see the heart of my brethren. Arise, my mother, arise. Awake from thy sleep for me, and to seek thy battle against my brethren. Oh, how have they stripped me of my coat, and sold me already twice for slave, and separated me from my father, and there is no one to pity me. See, it's me. He never even thought he never thought about his dreams here, okay? Arise, O my mother, rise, awake from thy sleep, and see thy father, how his soul is with me this day, and comfort me, and ease his heart. And Joseph continued to speak these words, and Joseph cried aloud, and wept bitterly upon his mother's grave. And he ceased speaking, and from bitterness of heart he became still as a stone upon the grave. And Joseph heard a voice speaking to him from beneath the ground, which answered him in bitterness of heart, and with the voice of weeping, and praying in these words, O my son Joseph, I have heard the voice of thy weeping, and the voice of thy lamentations. I have seen thy tears. I know thy troubles. My son, it is grievous for me and thy sake, and abundant grief is added to my grief. Now therefore, my son Joseph, my son, hope to the Lord, and wait for him, and do not fear, for the Lord is with thee. He will deliver thee from all thy trouble. Arise, my son, go down into Egypt with thy masters, and do not fear, for the Lord is with thee, my son. And he continued to speak like unto those words unto Joseph, and she was still. And Joseph heard this, and he wondered greatly at this, and he continued to weep. And after this one of the Ishmaelites observed him crying and weeping upon the grave, and his anger was kindled against him, and he drove him from there, and he smote him and cursed him. And Joseph said unto the men, May I find grace in thy sight to take me back to my father's house, and he will give you abundance of riches. And they answered him, saying, Art thou not a slave? And where is thy father? And if thou hast a father, thou wouldest not already twice have been sold for a slave, or for little value. And their anger was still aroused against him, and they continued to smite him and to chastise him. And Joseph wept bitterly. And the Lord saw Joseph's affliction, and the Lord again smote those men, and chastised them. And the Lord ceased darkness to envelop upon the earth, and the lightning flashed, and the thunder roared, and the earth shook at the voice of thunder and of the mighty wind. And the men were terrified, and knew not where they should go. And the beast and the camels stood still, and they led him, but they would not go. They smote him, and they crouched upon the ground. And the men said to each other, What is this that God has done to us? What are our transgressions, and what are our sins, that this thing has befallen us? And one of them answered and said unto him, Perhaps on the account of the sin of affliction this slave has this thing happen this day to us. Now therefore implore him strongly to forgive us, and then we shall know all who account this evil befalls us. And if God shall be a compassion over us, then we shall know that all this cometh to us from account of the sin of afflicting the slave. And the men did so, and they supplicated Joseph and pressed him to forgive him. In other words, please forgive us, please. Okay, and they said, We have sinned to our Lord and to thee. Now therefore, vouchsafe to require of thy God that he shall put away his dearth from among us, for we have sinned to him. And Joseph did according to their words, and the Lord hearkened unto Joseph. And the Lord put away the plague from which he had afflicted upon these men on account of Joseph. And the beast rose up from the ground, and they confounded them, and they went on, and raged storm abated, and the earth became tranquilized, and the men proceeded on their journey to go down to Egypt. And the men knew that this evil had befallen them on account of Joseph. And they said to each other, Behold, we know that it is on account of his affliction that this evil befell us. Now therefore, why shall we bring this death upon our soul? Let us hold counsel on what to do this to this slave. And one answered and said, Surely he told us to bring him back to his father. Now therefore, come, let us take him back, and we will go to the place that he will tell us, and take from his family the pieces that we gave for him, and we will then go away. And one answered again and said, Behold, this counsel is very good, but we cannot do so, for the way is very far from us, and we cannot go out of our road. And one answered and said unto them, This is the counsel to be adopted. We will not serve from it. Behold, we are this day going to Egypt, and when we shall have come to Egypt, we shall sell him at the high price, and we will be delivered from this evil. And this thing pleased the man, and they did so, and they continued their journey to Egypt with Joseph. All right, so that is what I have wanted to read to you. This is a very good book, and it takes a lot of things that you may have a lot of questions for, and it answers a lot of things, you know, and it starts off at the very beginning. And let me get to the beginning of it. Find the first part of it if I can. And God said, Let us make man in our image after our likeness. And God created man in his own image. And it goes on from there. It is a very, very good book. Okay, so, and it is in the Bible. Okay, so this should have been one of the books of the Bible, of the KJV. Alrighty, I hope you enjoyed it. This is how to donate to my PayPal. You come down here to Poor Man's Sewing, and you mash on Poor Man's Sewing. Then you go over here to About. You mash on about, and right here is to donate to Poor Man's Sewing. Thank you. I appreciate everything that is donated. It will go to the sewing shed that we are working on, or anything that you want me to put it on there, just leave a note on there and I will see what it says. And I really do appreciate you donating and watching my channel. A lot of hugs and kisses to you.